Hey everyone, welcome to episode 42 of Formidable Opponents, a show that pits three people who have known each other virtually their entire lives in a series of conversations as we argue what is best in a variety of fun, engaging, and critical pop culture topics we all debate about. I'm Randall, and with me always, Bob and Joseph, and today's topic is best TV show opening. This week, we're for the most part harkening back to a time where you couldn't click skip intro. TV show opening credit sequences have a special place in our hearts. It tells us what we need to know. It's the one reliable constant, and like a wrestler's entrance music, it reintroduces us to the characters we love and has our mind engaged with the antics they will be pulling off in this coming episode. TV show openings are more than just credit titles. They are the soundtrack to the show, the character intro. We undervalue the ephemeral amount of time an opening sequence has to tell us everything we need to know about the character. Pristine seconds. Take, for instance, Family Matters. How can we show the world Waldo Geraldo Faldo is a dumbass? Hit him on the head with an unexpected basketball pass. Another example is Perfect Strangers. How do we hammer in the fact that Balky is unmistakably foreign? Have him herd goats and voyage to America on the back of a carriage hauled by a donkey. I think Borat took a lot from this intro. We reminisce on the days where intros were short music videos and when producers of most programs composed their own TV intros. There's something about that specific time period that is warm and inviting, an unyielding optimism about a time where problems can be solved in 22 minutes plus commercials. This week, we are talking about best TV show opening. Bob and Joseph, how are you guys doing?
What's up, everybody? How are we doing tonight?
Doing good. Just saw another great set of games, NFL games. Man.
Joe Burrow.
Good job for the Bengals. Great job, yes. Bengals. Man, the Chiefs really blew that one.
I think it's America versus LA in the Super Bowl.
I think so.
the rest of America will go in for Joe Burrow and the
Super Bowl
Bengals.
Taking place in LA?
It's in LA. Yeah, it is.
Oh shit! So that's twice in 2 years in a row.
Yeah, with
field advantage.
Okay. Speaking of which, is Tom Brady gone? Is he staying? What is the deal? I posted.
Should I stay or should I go? He's chilling, man. He's on vacation. He'll let you know.
I wonder who jumped the gun on that shit, because if anything we know about of all the things we know about Tom Brady at this point, unless you hear it from his mouth, then don't fucking worry about it. Like,
yeah. He probably was probably like drinking with his buddies and mentioned, I might not play anymore. And somebody like texts Adam Schefter.
Yeah, dude, I'm wondering who was somebody
page.
Schefter.
With Tom, he's probably out.
Because, and then when it happened, I was like, is it false? Is it false? And then Schefter, put it out. Just like, well, fucking Schefter's never like wrong. Schefter's usually got,
if Adam
inside
Schefter's
scoop
wrong, I don't want
on
to be
everything.
Right.
Exactly.
Not only that,
so
Schefter's a Michigan alum, just like Brady. So you think that connection might play into it?
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows, man?
They mess up every once in a while. They heard it's like he just jumped the gun. He heard a little, some rumblings that he's like, probably gone. He wanted to be the first one to report it, and
he's like, I haven't filmed my retirement video like Ben Roethlisberger yet. What the fuck, guys? Still being edited.
Come on, man.
How wholesome did Ben Roethlisberger look when he was with his family? And we're used to seeing him like drunk and with, groupies all around him.
I don't think he's that guy anymore.
Randy still checks out TMZ every day on his phone.
If I was Tom Brady, to really screw with Atlanta's team base, I would announce my retirement on March 28th just to get 328 out there and say I'm leaving. The Falcons can feel like shit.
I'm out, or am I?
I might be out of it, but you never know.
I'm sure Gronk's waiting for him too, so he could retire.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about TV show openings, guys. What makes a good TV show opening, and what are some of the elements? What do you guys look for?
For me, I don't want to say it's exactly one thing or another, because we're going to get kind of into that when we give our selections and talk about everything that we're going to talk about. I think so. At the very least, I'll say it's got to somehow grab your attention. I don't think it necessarily needs to have the greatest of visuals. Whether the song is bad or good, it's going to be about the song more so for me, and how it catches your attention when it started. Was it something that, caught your ear because you liked it, or because you immediately were like, what the fuck is this that I'm hearing?
It's got to be, I think it's got to be catchy. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's got to be catchy. Definitely has to be catchy. You should be able to sing along with the words or hum along to the beat or the sound. unless you're watching Baywatch, of course, and you don't really give a shit what song is being sung in the background. But I think a great TV show theme or intro should have a really catchy tune or song or lyric that the audience can sing along with, or if they're in the kitchen, fixing something to eat. Once they hear that come on, they're like, oh shit. Yeah, like back in the day, we didn't have we couldn't record our shows unless we had VHS tapes. So when it came on at 7:00, you had to run or stop whatever the hell you were doing to run to the living room to catch the episode. And if it was a really good intro, I mean, you wanted to catch the intro as well.
I agree with both of you guys. We come from an era, and I was just
a land down under.
A land down under. I was just talking about this with a couple of people, how TV's so different nowadays. There is this TV show. Like, I don't know any of the new TV shows on the network television programs or stations, I should say. I'm watching the NFL on Fox, and they're showing clips or previews for TV shows I had never heard about. There's one called The Cleaning Lady. I'm like, the only cleaning lady I know has a TV show is the Mexican maid on Family Guy. I don't know any of these shows.
Mr. John not here.
So I mean, it's kind of lost on us. When we were growing up, we had 3 stations that played the sitcoms. It was ABC, CBS, NBC. Later on, Fox came the late 80s. We didn't get it until I think the early 90s. It finally reached our area.
Until we got rid of the rabbit ears and actually got a cable box.
Exactly. And so we were used to the TV show theme songs, the openings being like the curtain opening to like a stage play, or inviting us to say, hey, Alf is starting, or whatever the fuck is about to begin. And you would call people
of all shows, Alf is starting. Hurry. You're going to miss it.
He's going to eat the fucking cat. So, I mean, it was a calling card. Whereas now it's like we stream everything. So we skip intros. We take them for granted. I haven't seen like the one good one I did watch. I saw the first episode last night. Have you guys watched Peacemaker? It's pretty
no, Peacemaker.
Check out the intro. I think you'll like it. Yeah.
I'm on the fence about that show because I didn't particularly like his character. The Suicide Squad movie, the one that he comes out in, it's not bad, but it's not good. And I particularly didn't like his character. I thought he was a fucking asshole, but maybe that's to his credit, So I was kind of on the fence about watching that show because I hated it I hated seeing him so much in the Suicide Squad movie. But if you
check it out.
I'll listen to your thing.
Speaking of John Cena, I saw a great meme. It's like the older John Cena gets, he looks more and more like Ernest Borgnine. Have you seen that? Ernest Scared Stupid. Oh shit, man! They put him side by side, and I was like, holy crap, looks just like him. So
he does. Hey Vern. So hey, Vern. I think you guys kind of answered this one. Is a song more important than the visual opening? What do you guys look for most of all? Is it the music that captures you?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, I mean, the visual is always cool, but like I said, back in the day, we didn't really, a lot of us, we couldn't pause the TV. So you would hear the intro while you were getting your food ready or your snack ready or whatever the hell you were doing, finishing up. You'd hear the intro and that would get you excited. The sound, the song, the lyrics, whatever it was. So I think the song, the music is probably the most important thing. Even nowadays, like, think of Game of Thrones, that fucking song they played at the beginning, man. That screw the visual on it. Just the song is badass.
I'd probably have to agree because I know when I was looking at these questions and what we were going to do and trying to come up with, and then going through like putting together my honorable mentions, which we'll get to later, and the selection itself and why I wanted to talk about it. There was some stuff that came to me that I was like, well, the show is a good show. The song really wasn't anything, at least for this, but the visual was cool. And I'm sure I can't think of them right now. I'm sorry. I'm sure I'll think of them later, and maybe I'll have more of an answer to this question as we progress. But it's like you said, if you were in another room and what was that show you mentioned that you got real excited? I can't remember. Alf. If you heard the Alf opening credits, you probably ran to as soon as the song kicked in, if you were in the kitchen for some reason, you probably ran. So yeah, I gotta say the song's probably more important because if you hear it from another room, you're gonna go running in to go watch the show.
And let me just throw this out there: the song or the opening theme song doesn't necessarily mean the show's gonna be any good. Or it's going to be bad.
Exactly.
I mean, you could have a really shitty, theme song instead of a great show. Like, I'm sure this is going to piss off Randy, but I hated the Sopranos opening theme song. I hated that song. That song. I love the Sopranos. Watch the Sopranos. Really.
Well, that's a good example. That's a good. Okay, well, let me ask you this real quick, Bob. That's a good example of Is the song more important than the visual opening? Did you think the visual was pretty cool just without the song?
I mean, I saw Tony every episode. I didn't need to see him.
I thought the visual, the opening,
walking to the beat of.
I thought the opening was cool. The driving through the, driving through.
Yeah, he's at the Jersey Turnpike. He's going. Yeah,
that one. I guess. Yeah, the visual would be a lot more important than the song. I couldn't get any worse than the fucking song.
I think you can probably take that opening and change the song, and it would probably still be as pretty awesome. So that's a good example of the visual, because I thought it was cool, and I personally do like the song.
And I'm gonna surprise you, but I think the song I think it's a good song, but I think it's a very dated song. I think when you listen to that song, it's very like late 90s, sort of like, I don't know. There's a
I honestly thought it was the Butthole Surfers, to be honest with you, before I found out it wasn't.
There's no surfers with it, Joseph. Just a bunch of buttholes.
I know those guys played like on Jay Leno. They really wrote that song, when the Sopranos were big. And speaking of TV shows, I don't know if your camera's too low or you're trying to pay homage to Wilson on Home Improvement, Joseph, but we only see you from the nose up. So.
I'm paying homage. Boom.
That's one song I hated, by the way. I did not like that opening of that one. And I don't want to just isolate sitcoms. So do you prefer a catchier theme to your show, or are you more into like the dark brooding themes of a more serious show? What do you think plays better to it?
I think the catchy tunes, man. I think those are hard to beat, rather than just mood music before a show.
They are. That's true. And then you're going to see that more with the sitcoms. There's some awesome shows that have some really great, or not great, but just some creepy, like ambiotic. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Ambiotic fluid?
No. Gross. Cut that.
Ambiance.
Some ambiance music that set up the show. But it's kind of like what you mentioned earlier in the beginning, Randy. A lot of these new shows don't have it. Okay, they might not have an intro, or the intro is like fucking 5 seconds. Like one of my favorite shows, a show called Evil. The intro is just like 5 seconds of some weird visuals and some creepy ambiance music. And then the title screen, the card that Evil comes out. And that's it. It's like 5 seconds.
It's kind of
that's what shows are today.
Yeah, well, like American Horror Story has a lot of creepy visuals and just kind of like mood creepy music too as well.
To catch a tune, yeah. I mean, it's going to probably be more sitcoms.
If you're comparing that to like Three's Company's winning all fucking day.
True.
Yeah. And one that I don't really care for, The Office. I love The Office, but the song and the opening titles, I just I'll skip.
It's like goofy and melodic or whatever.
You press skip intro every time.
Yeah, I will skip that intro. Not too big into it. But speaking of which TV show opening you absolutely cannot stand? Is there one that you?
I got two.
All right.
Oh shit! Go for it, Joseph.
Right.
The Friends theme.
I knew. That's exactly why I asked this question.
I fucking hate that song.
I'll be there for you, Joseph. God damn it.
It's horrible, bro. I'll skip that anytime. Not to say anything against the show. And also Orange is the New Black. I really, really enjoyed that show, but I hated the opening. I thought the opening song was stupid. I thought the visual it's kind of sets you up for the story, the tone or the story of the show, but the intro song is just stupid. I hate it, and I agree with you.
That's a good one. I didn't think about that one, but that one does have a pretty shitty intro,
although I love the show. It was a good show.
Yeah, it was a good show. What about you, Bob?
I'd have to just stick with my Sopranos pick, man. It's probably the most disappointing that doesn't really fit the show. It doesn't, you know what I mean? I'm thinking like, these are badass mobsters and this and the song.
Did you want like Frank Sinatra out there?
Fuck yes, I wanted Frank Sinatra. That would have fit the theme better.
Like eating pasta and
I did it my way. Something.
That could work.
Wanted something more stereotypical.
When the moon hits your eye like a big piece of pie. That's amore.
I don't think when I think of Italian mobs, I think of pizza.
Rand was like, it should have been a 90s grunge band or something. That's kind of had that feel to it. This doesn't work for mafia movies.
I did like the Sopranos opener though. I'm surprised you didn't like it. The one show I have listed was Frasier. I mean, it offers nothing. It's animated.
You just don't like Frasier singing.
You don't like
toss salad and scrambled eggs.
Yeah, toss salad and scrambled. It probably should have been an opening theme for HBO's Oz or Orange is the New Black or something. I don't know.
Gross.
but I could not stand Frasier. The TV show was okay.
The show was cool. That was all right.
And speaking of TV shows and honorable mentions, let's start off with our honorable mentions. What did you guys have as some of your favorite intros?
I'll try to get through this quick. I mean, because there was a lot came to mind. Obviously,
go for it.
Like MASH, I had Family Matters, The Simpsons, Full House, Reading Rainbow, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Rainbow. He sang that song to us every.
Oh
morning.
Man, that's
the same song. He sang it to us, and it was just great.
I'm changing my pick to Mr. Rogers, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Damn it!
Great song. Yeah, really high up there. I give props to the X-Files theme. I didn't think it was very, but that creepy, that music, that's pretty good. I got your two picks, but so I won't mention them. Twilight Zone, the Monsters.
Yeah, dude.
Nothing very special as far as the intro, because it's just kind of, I believe that if I remember correctly, them like showing it. I think they walk into frame. But the music, I mean, that fucking song. Yeah, it's a great song. The Golden Girls. I did have The Sopranos, Knight Rider, Star Trek original and Next Generation. I thought they were both good.
Never seen it.
Kids in the Hall. That was a great one for me.
I remember that one.
Yeah,
dude.
that was great.
Love that song.
Kids in the Hall, yeah.
Make the noise, Joseph. I can't make that noise.
What noise?
The noise they make at the Kids in the Hall. The intro. He makes a weird noise like in the. Never mind. Go ahead.
I don't remember. You have to remind me later. Adventures of Pete and Pete. Tales from the Crypt. Daria.
Tales from the Crypt had a great opening.
Batman the animated series, Quantum Leap. That was probably the show that I ran into the room for, like you did, Randy.
I love Quantum Leap.
Clone High. This was this short-lived MTV animated show.
I remember that.
With a great opening song by Abandoned Pools. Yeah, Clone High was about like
Abraham Lincoln, right? And
a high school made of clones from historical.
It was the animated one, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I know.
It was a funny show. It was a good show.
Yes, it was.
The opening was cool. I liked it. Song by Abandoned Pools, and I wanted to say Boy Meets World just because I liked the show, but it changed. The opening changed so many times as they got older. So
did you like the surf one the best?
Yeah, the surf one probably when they were running out. When they were running out in the car and like driving, that's probably my favorite one, I guess, if I've had to pick one. But how about you, Bob?
That's good picks, man. Those are really good picks. The Twilight Zone was one of the ones I wrote down first. It was one of the ones I thought about choosing as well. That one's just iconic and great. Like everybody knows what that opening theme sound or song or whatever it is. I had Knight Rider. How could you not think about Knight Rider? Another David Hasselhoff. Really, really cool. Had Step by Step. The Simpsons, of course. Three's Company. Gilligan's Island. I used to know all the words to Gilligan's Island. Whenever I'd stay home sick from school, like that's one of the shows they showed on TBS, Three's Company and Gilligan's Island. I had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the cartoon in the 90s. That one had an awesome theme song to it. Happy Days, The Jeffersons, The Addams Family. I know you mentioned the Monsters. Monsters had a great one, but The Addams Family was really, really cool. I had a lot. I mean, I have a ton written down here. I don't want to go through all of them, but I think there's some really great stuff. I mean, more up to date ones would be like Game of Thrones and Stranger Things even has a cool little.
That's a good one. Yeah,
has a cool little opening theme. What do you got, Ren?
I got Step by Step was one I completely forgot about. I always forgot. I mean, I always felt bad for the nerdy kid. What was his name? Mark. Like when they would go on the roller coaster, like. He was.
Why would they always steal his ice cream?
Yeah,
well, that too.
He was so nerdy that he couldn't get on the roller coaster. Him and his aunt had to like wave at everybody else going on the roller coaster. I always felt bad for him. So
maybe because he was smart enough to know that shit happens. That's why.
I had the A-Team, epic music.
Oh yeah,
I A-Team I loved. Welcome Back, Kotter. Now, welcome back, Kotter. Yeah. John Sebastian, a time when high school kids look like fucking teachers, right? And I don't know if you guys watch Euphoria, but I watch Euphoria, and there's no fucking way that Zendaya is the same age as Juan Epstein. That dude had like gray chest hair and shit. He was a high school student in Welcome Back, Kotter, but the song was great. Some of these are a little dated. Barney Miller, show sucked, but the bass line. Check out the bass line on Barney Miller. It's really good. I had Family Matters as well. Good pacing, fast intro, fun song. I wanted to ask you guys about Family Matters because I knew one of you would bring it up as your honorable mention or as your selection. Urkel. So Family Matters was a spinoff of Perfect Strangers. Harriet was an elevator operator in Perfect Strangers. She always had like these sassy one-liners and she would always like cut down Balky and Larry, and they gave her own spinoff. Now, did you guys feel that first season without Urkel, do you think the show would have survived? Do you think this Urkel like carried the show? Like it was the Steve Urkel show in my opinion.
Yeah, he definitely carried the show. I think they needed that. He became like one of those. He became one of those
Like
90s characters. Yeah, one of those 90s characters that you tune in to see what he was going to do, the stupid shit and antics and things that he was going to say every show. It wasn't just about the family stuff. Was so great that they covered a lot of great issues and fun issues and serious issues. But you always tune in to see what Steve was going to do.
It's really hard to say because, like Bob mentioned, the show did a great job of covering like issues and whatnot. But the comedy there from the Steve Urkel characters is really, really great. I want to say yes because I also believe I can't remember his name right now, so I'm sorry. But the Carl Winslow character was also I mean, if you look at it later, it was this Steve and Carl show, to be honest. More Steve, yes, obviously, but it was a show between Steve and Carl. I mean, that's as it
evolved that way, right? Because you had this big family dynamic, the single sister with a kid, and then you had one sister got written off, and
she walked up the stairs and never came back down.
Yeah, exactly. And she went into a whole other business. We won't get into it. That's not. I mean, that happened in Betamax. That happened in Boy Meets World as well. We're not going to talk about that. But Girl Met World. So yeah, that show, I think you're right, Joseph. I think it evolved into the Steve Urkel, Carl Winslow, Reginald VelJohnson show. I think a lot of people had umbrage with that. I think a lot of people thought like, well, this was supposed to be about my show, Harriet from Perfect Strangers, I'm sorry. And it evolved into like this just comic slapstick fest. I don't think that's what the show was supposed to be about. I think the messages got lost, but if it wasn't for him, the show wouldn't have ran 10, 11 seasons. I mean, the dude carried the show, and I didn't think they want to spin him off.
Not to say that the character of Harriet didn't have her own moments, with the kids and with Steve himself and with her husband, but it
really did become the Urkel and Laura and their like the kids. The show really became more about the kids than the actual adults.
Yeah. I think some of the best acting on that show was when Harriet and I can't remember the sister's name. They meet their estranged father.
Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel. And that episode was really good. They meet their estranged father. The acting was phenomenal, and but everything else was goofball. And then to make it worse, they introduced Waldo, and then
Waldo.
Yeah, exactly. And, I love that shit. I tuned out after he chose Laura over Myra, so that's a whole other episode we could probably get into. But I just wanted to get your take on Family Matters. The Jeffersons, the song is everything.
Dude.
Louise, who he called Wheezy affectionately, crying because they made it into the East Side apartment. So my wife's middle name is Louise, and I called her Wheezy a few times, and it didn't go over well. Let's just say our kids should have been closer in age. So so I mean, George Jefferson strutting down through the apartment lobby like he's running shit, kind of like Joe Burrow. And then this one I had The Sopranos. I thought it was slick. And let me tell you why. We've all pretended we're Tony Soprano driving, except we're weak asses that have to go through 3 school zones and stop at Dunkin' Donuts for coffee. Tony Soprano, I thought that was a great intro.
If you walk into a coffee shop and you sing, come on, knock on our door, or you sing like the Simpsons intro, I mean, or like another intro, people probably sing along with you. But if you sing the fucking intro to the Sopranos at Starbucks, you're gonna get a lot of weird looks. Look at what the hell?
Does anybody know the lyrics? After woke up this morning,
got myself a gun. No, because everybody muted it after that.
Dukes of Hazzard, Waylon Jennings as the balladeer, Daisy Duke, of course. Magnum PI. Magnum looks great in this intro. I mean, that's where the mustache came from him. And
I think they called him Magnum.
But his homies look weak. Higgins and Rick and all those guys, they just look fucking weak. The Fall Guy is another great intro. I have a couple others that you guys mentioned that I won't go over. Happy Days, Three's Company. The running gag is John Ritter falling on his ass every time he's checking out an attractive woman. I mean, that never fails, man. Perfect Strangers, Married with Children is a great intro too.
Yes, I had that one written down on my huge list. And I just didn't mention it.
Yeah, I love Married with Children and just Al Bundy starting off the show as his miserable self. The Simpsons was one I was going to go with. It's iconic, but I had it as my honorable mention. So
I was going to mention, nobody mentioned The Incredible Hulk. That one had an awesome opening.
Oh, yeah.
The TV show had an awesome opening. It's probably one of the ones I thought about choosing when I was thinking of these. Man, I hadn't seen that opening in so long. It's pretty cool. Nobody mentioned the Andy Griffith Show. That was one. Like, I mean, granted, we weren't sitting around watching it; our parents were. But Jesus, you hear that whistle, and you know exactly what show it is.
Well, I was gonna say, I'd like to point out that our listeners are probably going to be like, I mean, we've mentioned a few shows.
How old are these guys?
Yeah, exactly. What the fuck are these guys watching? Or don't they know anything?
When we were kids, man.
We were kids, and it goes back to like what we mentioned earlier, that these new shows don't really have intros. I do watch some new television shows. I love the Chicago Wednesday, which is the Chicago Med, Fire, and PD, and each of those 3 shows are some of my favorite shows, and they're very big shows. Their opening is just like 3 seconds of like some dark ambiance and then the logo flashing. So there's nothing new that has these really nothing new that has what we're talking about, this great opening. They're just some quick little, hey, we're just going to remind you this is what you're watching and get back to the show.
Nobody mentioned Law and Order either.
Oh, no, I forgot about those.
There's one that I guarantee you guys haven't watched. There was this show.
Say Airwolf.
Airwolf was great. No,
yeah,
I would say Airwolf.
That's one of my buddies mentioned that.
Yeah,
it's got to be Airwolf. I was like, I haven't seen one episode of that.
Surprised you mentioned
old for me.
Did anybody say the Power Rangers? Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? The original?
No, that was cool.
That was cool. I mean, if you had like epilepsy, maybe not so cool. I mean, the show was pretty cool. There was one show that I know you guys probably haven't seen. Do you guys remember a CBS show called Tour of Duty? It was about Vietnam. Yeah. No. Check out the intro. The intro is Painted Black, the Rolling Stones. Great intro. Show didn't last. I think it lasted a season. It was a good show. I think it got canceled for budget reasons because of all the money it took to do it, whatever. Yeah, to shoot it, and they probably blew all their money on fucking Rolling Stones. But Tour of Duty, it has a great intro for anybody who hasn't watched it. Check it out on YouTube. You can find it there.
Joseph, you didn't mention Saved by the Bell. We even did a whole show on Saved by the Bell.
Oh yeah, see, there's a lot, man. There's just like
I know
there's so many.
Yeah,
I probably spent an hour listing honorable mention or 30 minutes listing honorable. We probably have spent 30 minutes listing honorable mentions.
We had to go into a deep dive about Steve Urkel, man. I'm sorry. To take you guys down that Jersey Turnpike like Tony Soprano.
Got myself. Shut up.
Now he's gonna have that in his head now.
Bob doesn't
like at work tomorrow.
Because everybody who put that song on when they were driving had this imagery like they were fucking Tony Soprano.
They were fucking cool. They put on their $5 sunglasses and
they're driving their fucking Corollas and they're fucking
drinking out of a red Solo cup. Real fucking cool.
Running late to work. Like, I see your point now, I guess. Yeah. It sucks.
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna go on with our selections. Joseph, you're up first.
All right, so I went with Cheers, everybody. Cheers, featuring Where Everybody Knows Your Name by Gary Portnoy, or Portnoy, however you want to say it. Probably Portnoy. Portnoy. The great American sitcom that ran for 11 seasons from 1982 to 1993. So more ran when we were kids. So I'll be frank and say that I've watched reruns, but I didn't. I mean, obviously I was younger. So, but there's a lot of shows that we mentioned that we didn't, watch. They were, stuff that our parents watched, but that doesn't deny this great opening. Anyway, so it's starring a crazy amount of names, either young in their career or whatnot, like stuff. Some people like Ted Danson, Shelley Long, Nicholas Costano, Real Perlman, Kelsey Grammer, Woody Harrelson, the list goes on, and a lot of plenty of cameos that came out in the show. Excuse me. It's about a group of regulars who frequent a Boston bar named Cheers, who share their daily experiences and lives with each other while drinking or working at the bar where everybody knows your name. As the song mentions, to me, this is the perfect example of not doing little, but definitely saying so much. There's nothing really fancy about the opening, title. And yes, I know people are probably going to say, people will say actually that really it's just the song. We all know the song. It's a great song. Well, that doesn't matter. There's nothing wrong with that. The song does what it's supposed to do. Can it be a bit sappy? Sure. But who cares? It sets the scene for the overall plot of the show, because really at the end of the day, especially after a long, hard working day, we want to go where everybody knows our name and maybe just drink and relax with friends. The beginning of Cheers is the stuff of legends, literally. It's a slideshow of assorted faces, figures from bar scenes from the past, where a place where everybody knows your name. What's not to like? I don't remember who wrote that, but I'm going to quote it. For the record,
I'm stealing it.
I'm stealing it for my argument, but at least I didn't say I wrote it. For the record, NBC was not on board with this opening at all. They wanted to see the cast of the show featured in the opening, and why not? Like I mentioned, there was a great cast, a sorted cast on this show for 11 seasons. Honestly, at the time, it was probably a risk to have this opening with the theme song and with the, a pictorial timeline of drinking. The designers used for the opening 17 images from the turn of the century, superimposed them and hand tinted and colored them themselves. And even after all this, the network was still not on board with it. But in the end, as we know, the creators fought to keep the intro, and it definitely paid off. The show itself is one of the most popular TV series of all time, and its opening title sequence and song are part of American television history. Everybody knows this song, and we all want to go somewhere someday where everybody knows our name. That's
yeah, it's called Applebee's, Joseph. It's called Applebee's. Have you seen the fucking commercial?
I'd also like to
go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
No, I'd also like to say that there's one of it's history on American television, and this song has been used so many times in different shows or in a commercial or something. This I know, like I've said in the beginning of this, it's going to come down to the song, the visuals, nothing too fancy, but I think it's pretty cool. But it's the song. This song is so catchy. When you deep dive into the lyrics, I mean, everybody can relate to it. The importance of it and the effect that it had on TV today. There's one of my favorite shows of all time, How I Met Your Mother. There's an episode where they create a bar in their apartment and they call it puzzles. And so they invited,
that's the puzzle.
That's the puzzle. They invite everybody over to their apartments, and they create this banner that says puzzles, but it looks like the Cheers logo. And they even, like, in the episode, create their own Cheers type, song for the bar. So it's influence on TV and like I said, its appearance in commercials and other shows is legendary. To me, this is one of the most iconic openings in TV history of all time. What's up?
Yeah, man. I'd have to agree with you for the most, but I have to agree with you. Cheers was one of my it was a cool show growing up. I know we're pretty young when it came out, but the song itself, the theme song, is it's a feel good song, man, and it makes you want to, now looking back at it and listening to it, makes you want to go someplace and have a beer with your buddies and just talk about life and talk about work and just kind of have a good time. You know what I mean? Cheers was always, what's funny about it, looking back on it, as I got older, I was always like, I want to find a bar like Cheers. I want to have like a neighborhood bar that I can go to after work to have a beer, to talk with people, and then, just to go home like Norm did, right? It's a great theme. You instantly know what song it is. What TV show it is by the song. As soon as it starts, you already know this is Cheers. And I love the fact that you mentioned it's in commercials now, and no matter what commercial or what ad is on TV and what ad they're using this song for, mm-hmm. I always think of Cheers. It will always remind me of Cheers, no matter what Applebee's is trying to do with it. It's Cheers. It's Cheers to me. So I think you made a really great pick with that. What do you think, Ren?
I love this pick because I love the show. I love the fact that Cheers would always start off with a cold opening. They would have an opening like skit or whatever, and then they would go into my favorite cold opening. And I once you mentioned Cheers, I remember this one. So there's an opening where this one guy comes back to the bar and he's like, "Oh man, this is my old bar, Cheers. I haven't been here in 24 years." He's talking to Woody, and Woody was a fairly new bartender. He's like, "I haven't been here in 24 years. Everything's the same. The stools, the chandelier, whatever." And he's like, "The only thing that's different is that picture back there." And he's like, "What picture?" And he's like, "That one behind Norm." The guy hadn't been in the bar for 24 years, but he knew what the fuck Norm was. He knew who the fuck Norm was.
Because Norm's always there, baby.
And then they went right into the song. After premiering on September 30th, 1982, it was nearly canceled during its first season when it ranked last in the ratings, almost last in the ratings in its premiere. It was 74th out of 77 shows. Should have been axed, right? However, Cheers eventually became a Nielsen ratings juggernaut in the U.S., earning top 10 ratings 8 of its 11 seasons, their last 8 seasons. And they were number one in season 9. And what I loved about Cheers was everything. I love the imagery, the old time bar imagery where somebody from the past represents somebody on the show. I thought they were very clever using that. I think they used all these old figures, like a guy that looked like Woody, a guy that looked like Norm. I mean, it was just brilliant. The song is just so wonderfully melancholy. It does sound uplifting, but essentially it's about how, my life is shit. I'm going through a divorce, whatever, but I still got this bar to go.
Jesus Christ. Debbie Downer.
Listen to the lyrics.
It's a celebration of alcohol.
And this was the third song. And I think you mentioned this, Joseph. This was the third song from the duo of Gary Portnoy and Judy Hart Angelo submitted. And they had submitted these other 2 songs. The showrunners or whatever thought, we don't like it. So this was the third song. This was a hit. And going back to the cast, this is how you have really good showrunners, directors, and writing. The show loses 2 huge characters, Coach and Diane. Coach, of course, we lost to a heart attack, and Diane left the show, Shelley Long. They replaced him with Woody and Rebecca, and somehow the show got better. I love the show. I love Cliff Clavin. I felt he was my favorite character, the know-it-all barfly who just gets into every conversation. My main issues with this, I think it resonates with a certain age group, and you kind of alluded to this, Joseph, saying how, hey, we watch a lot of these old shows. It's really stuck in a time warp, but I love it because it reminds me of childhood. And I think wherever Cheers streams, most people would skip it, but you can find, the full song on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to music at your own leisure. And the imagery, even it's the historical pictures, you just picture it when you're listening to the song. It's a clever start. And I think people watch the intro because it welcomes them. I mean, I think Cheers was on during Thursday night. It was one of the first iterations of must-see television. And when Cheers would start, you're ending your week, you're starting to think about where am I going to go tomorrow night after work, after a grueling week of work. And so when Cheers would come out at 7:00 on a Thursday night, you knew it set the, no pun intended, you knew it set the bar into like, okay, what am I going to do for the weekend? And you're just waiting for that last day of work, that Friday that you're just going to, rush through so you could go and have a beer with your buddies, reminisce, talk about your good times, talk about your bad times. And Cheers just worked that in beautifully, man. It was a great show.
Great show, great song. I will say that I'm glad that because you can look up a full lyrics version, and if you look that one up, it kind of doesn't. There's some lyrics that you're like, oh, what was that? Like, what was he trying to say? So I'm glad that they shortened it to what we hear, in the credits, because it just worked better.
Okay, looking up real quick, just a challenge, real quick. Do you know all the lyrics to the song, or most of the lyrics to the song, besides? Everybody knows your name. Don't look at your notes, Joseph. I see you cheating over.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break
from all your worries.
Sure would help a lot. Yeah, sure. You're looking at lyrics.
No, I'm not looking at lyrics.
Sure would help a lot
to get away. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. So you want to be where something like that.
Where you can see where. Your troubles are all the same.
Like we mentioned it already.
Yeah, we already fucked it up.
I just wanted to throw that out there. Because,
we don't have the rights to that. So, it's kind of a sentimental song in a fun way. What differentiates, and this is just a question I'm throwing out to both of you. So it's kind of in the same vein, but not really, as like Growing Pains, show me that smile again, or Family Ties. What would we do, baby, without us? What makes Cheers a cool song and those not as cool?
Because it's talking about a bar and it's talking about drinking and it has that, you know what I mean? I think that that atmosphere, I think, changes the tone of the song. You know what I mean?
What's sad about this, is in listening to this song, to prepare for this and making the, ultimately making the selection, about how much you can kind of relate to it still to this day. Listening to you don't have to watch the TV show, but just hearing the song, and it's. I mean, fuck, it really is the way the song describes. And that's why I think it resonates with so many people. Even, back then, after all this time, from 1980, whatever, to here we are, 2022, and making your way in the world today takes everything you've got.
Yeah, man. It's a really good lyric, man.
Very
really
poignant.
Lyric.
Let me ask you guys.
I was going to ask you, Randy, real quick. So doesn't it suck that, especially in your case, how Cheers is such a great opening theme song, but the spinoff from it was Frasier, and you absolutely hate the opening theme song?
I like tossed salad and scrambled eggs.
Yeah, I don't, that one. Well, because the Frasier character from Cheers, and I
Dr.
watched
Fraser Crane,
Frasier.
Dr.
I watched
Fraser Crane.
I watched some episodes of. I've watched Frasier before, and it has its moments, and it's it is funny. But yeah, that intro is just that's one I'll skip most definitely.
Let me ask you guys this: what is the best fictional TV show bar? Is it Cheers? Is it the Regal Beagle? Is it the Bada Bing? What is your favorite? What is like the best?
If it's Most Tavern, obviously. It's Most Tavern.
I dig the vibe of the.
No, it was the bar in How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, I was about to say I dig the vibe of that one just because it was it's not under below street level.
So it was Cheers, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was.
So it was
well, I dig those vibes. The Cheers one is right behind that. I like that vibe. Kind of the hidden cellar speakeasy type shit.
I've only watched maybe 2 or 3 episodes of How I Met Your Mother. I could never get into that show. And somebody recommended, oh, you'll love it. It's your kind of humor. I could never get into it. I know both of you like it.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
but it's funny.
Yeah, it's a great show. It's a funny show.
I'll give it another shot.
Give it another go. I mean,
another go.
Yeah, having the Bob Saget doing the narration.
That's gonna make.
They might make it for you now.
For sure.
We lost Bob Saget a week or so ago.
And I did watch 3 episodes. 2 of them were okay. The third
I think as the season went on, it got better. Like the first season was okay, and the second season was much better. Third season much better, and I think it progressed really well.
I'll give it another shot. All right, Bob, you're up. What did you pick?
Well, speaking of songs, the lyrics to, I went with The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I don't think that there's any other song that can come on besides maybe Saved by the Bell that all the lyrics to, and you can still sing the lyrics to this day. This 1990 sitcom that ran for 6 seasons was just one of my favorite shows of all time. It's the opening. I mean, everything about the show was great. The comedy, the seriousness of it. They talk about some serious topics. It was a really great coming of age TV show for me personally. Because it had a lot of great comedy, but it also touched on some serious topics. But that opening song, it's just so catchy, man. And not to mention that it's a hip hop track. So it brought this urban music into family households all throughout the United States, all throughout the world. And, and everybody's singing along, no matter what race or what culture or what age group or what class. Everybody watched this show and everybody sang along with these lyrics. Everybody got along and got excited for these lyrics. This show, once the opening lyric came on, in West Philadelphia, born and raised. Once you hear that, you're in on it. And it's funny, the opening scene is funny, which is great because, Will Smith managed to make his hip hop, comical, which it was kind of before. But I mean, especially for the show, the song that he wrote and the music video that he created for it, I just think it's probably the most catchy. I know Cheers. Fuck, man, it's really hard to argue against Cheers, but Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that opening lyric, the opening song, the theme song, that hip hop song, everybody was singing it. Everybody still knows it. And it's going to be one of those that you can play it at a bar and everybody will sing along with it. No matter what time of day, no matter how many beers you've had, everybody in the bar will sing along with it. Not so much, the Sopranos opening theme. What do y'all think about this one?
So that's some good arguments. Fresh Prince, the opening song, the opening music could end racism. We could have run with it. 32 million YouTube views. First time I had watched the extended version of this intro was today. I didn't know there was a scene where he was on an airplane and when they were driving up.
I begged them, pleaded.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had never seen that until today when I was looking at for the show notes, or this week, I should say. So this is a huge takeoff from Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff's Parents Just Don't Understand. To me, there was a stretch for about 2 years, probably around 89 through 91, where everything was so bright and neon, and grunge came ushering in, late 90s and sort of taking that color away. This show did something very clever for the pilot. As soon as the intro song finishes, the first scene is Will Smith in the same clothes, knocking on the door. It was a cool continuation. I like the way the directors worked that in. Yeah, it was very cool. And let's examine this intro. Will Smith is big time traveling on the basketball court, first of all. So they should have called it travel. He misses a basketball shot, starts a gang war, and he's sent across the country to avoid trouble because of, quote unquote thugs And what happens after a few seasons in LA? What happens? He gets shot, and Carlton was going to be a vigilante and take matters. So kind of ironic there. But anyway, back to the basketball court. They were playing 2-on-2, and his boys didn't back him up. They had these 4 guys sitting on the sidelines, 4 or 5 guys, and they're giving him airplane spins. And how tough were these guys spinning him like an airplane? Where was Don Cheeto as Ice Tray, his homie from back in West Philadelphia? You didn't tell me a couple of dudes like named Ice Tray couldn't back them up. Anyway, it would have made more sense if he was a troubled youth. I think it would have given it more of a fish out of water leverage. But Will Smith was a likable, talented guy, and I guess that was part of the charm in the comedy, right? And according to a February 2021 article by West Philadelphia native Michael A. Nutter, there was 500 gun-related homicides in Philadelphia in 1990, the highest ever from 1960 to 2020. The bigger issue isn't arguing this TV theme opener. The real issue is, where were you, Mayor W. Wilson Good Sr., when the young kids didn't feel safe in your city's basketball courts? Message. No.
Message.
My complaints, a rare move not to showcase the rest of the cast members, which is, I understand it's not a really big gripe. It is Will Smith's show. You didn't see that too often for non-ensembles, right? I think there could have been some updates at the start, especially after season 4, when things started to lose steam and we had the gist of what was going on already. Will Smith's character was changing a little bit, but kudos on the selection. Although the imagery at the start seems very dated, hip hop, early 90s, which is an era I love. I'm not complaining about it. The song is so catchy. When Will Smith is gone, they'll be playing this song as a memoriam. If this show is on TV now, you're going to listen to this song. This song is so hauntingly feel good. It bridges the scenes throughout the show. Every time they're going to another scene, they're playing the song in the background. Super smart casting, Will Smith. I mean, kudos to Benny Medina, Jeff Pollack, Quincy Jones, Brandon Tartikoff, and everybody else at NBC who decided to take a chance on him because they had a superstar and they knew it. I love this theme song. And I joked a little bit about how it does break down barriers, whether you're black, white, Mexican, Asian, whatever. People know this song and they love singing it, and it's a feel good song. Definitely one of the top 3 or 4, I think, in my opinion. Joseph?
Yeah, this is a really great pick. I know when I looked into these quote unquote lists that we find just to get where we're going or try to connect with some of these, this one's always up there. It's always up there with my selection. I know Bob said, kind of hard to argue or to compare them between my pick and his pick. But this is that song. This is, at least when we're growing up. See, this is more, this one, this show was on the air when we were, of age, we were watching TV and whatnot. And if any song was going to make me, come in to get ready to get excited about, a show, it was going to be this one. The opening, the opening beat, and then the lyrics kick off. This is that song that probably made me run in from another room to watch the show. I can still watch this show to this day. I do have the option to, I don't have, we can't skip live TV, but I can pause it if I didn't want to hear it, or I can mute it, but I'm not going to mute it. This is a great song. If anything, taking the chance on Will Smith, no acting experience whatsoever, to do this song at the worst, you're going to have a great opening. I mean, why not approach him to do I'm not 100% sure. Maybe you can clarify it. Okay. One, to do the show, but then to give him the ability to, hey, why don't you do the opening for us and come up with the concept for it. To do that, clearly smart because, I mean, Will Smith he was big. He was popular. He was doing his thing. This only made him more popular. This show, this song. So why get somebody else to do what Will Smith can clearly do on his own? At the least, if the show didn't work, we would have had a good song. He would have had a good song in his catalog still to this day. It is, we know it more so much for the show, but we all know that it's a good song. We love this song. If the show didn't work, it would still be a good song. It'd still be cool. It'd still be a nice piece of history, something that he did for the show, even if the show didn't work, but it did. And so that's what's great. And that's what makes it even better. I love this one. It definitely, the imagery goes with it hand in hand. It's perfect. This is we talked about what's better, the music or the imagery. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other. There are cases where they mesh and they both come together perfectly, and this is that example. This is a great pick, Bob. Great song, yes. Obviously. great TV show. Oh, yeah. Wonderful TV show. We can talk about this later. We'll probably talk about it later. I had a discussion with Bob about this, about the reboot. I don't know if you saw the trailer.
I have.
For it.
Yeah.
And I was not feeling it whatsoever.
Yeah,
so.
It seems a little too serious. For my taste.
Well, homicide's a serious thing in West Florida.
Apparently. One thing I did want to mention before we move on, this was the opening scene and the opening theme and the opening theme song and visual. It's a hip hop music video, man.
Exactly.
So he created a music video.
Let him do what he does
for the opening of the show. I mean, that's really high risk. You know what I mean? Because he's not just catering to the urban community. He's catering to. I mean, like they're trying to get viewers. This is they wanted this to be this big show on. And what channel was it on? Was it on
NBC?
NBC. NBC. Okay. And they're trying to. Yeah. So, and by using a hip hop video, I mean, shit, it was a really big risk, but it paid off in such a big way, and it's such a memorable song, and it's one that we're going to be singing, until like I think Randy mentioned it, or one of y'all mentioned it, when that God forbid, 20, 30 years from now, when Will Smith passes away, like he's made a lot of great music, but this is going to be the song that I'm going to play on that day and think of, because it's just such a great song. I don't mean that to sound negative in any way. I just think it's a song that'll stick with him for the next 20, 30 years. Yeah.
Absolutely. Nobody's going to play Getting Jiggy with it. Trust me. They're going to play this song.
I mean, Wild Wild West has nothing on this shit.
the two things that remind me of the reruns of Fresh Prince. I was old enough to enjoy the first run, but I remember when the Fresh Prince was on in the early 90s, it just reminded me of a better time when, the NBA had inside stuff, and you would see a lot of these like meshes of like, you would see like Jaleel White and Mark Wahlberg and Will Smith playing Rock and Jock against like Reggie Miller and Larry Johnson and all these early 90s NBA stars. It seemed like, these worlds were together at the time, Rock and Jock and hip hop and TV show and movies. And we got to watch that. And it seems so separate now, but I don't know, Will Smith and this song kind of reminds me of that, unity that used to go on in the early 90s with these different entities of entertainment. And another thing it reminds me of is coming home at night, and it's playing on Nick at Night. It's 2 a.m. and you probably had a night of drinking. You're watching Will Smith and you're watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and it puts you in a good mood. You're like, God, this is a good way to end the night. And then 30 minutes later, you get fucking George Lopez and fucking Lowrider. It kind of fucks up your night.
What's wrong with Lowrider? What the hell?
I do not like that. That's another bad intro, by the way. Another bad, in my opinion.
See, this is the Latino Randy, not Chicano Randy.
I'll go on with my selection. A lot of honorable mentions were dated shows, and we talked about this earlier. This is a show. By the way, my selection is The Wonder Years. This is the show that takes place in the late 80s through the early 90s, about the late 60s and early 70s. And it doesn't seem dated to me watching The Wonder Years. Joe Cocker's cover of Little Help from My Friends is just a brilliant song too. They could have gone with anything, because the 60s and early 70s, I mean, the catalog is vast, but they went with Joe Cocker's cover of this Beatles classic. The intro is 45 seconds and it covers everything. It tells you everything. The breakdown is perfect, and every shot is not only a story, it's also so metaphoric. The opening shot, family trying to get their shit together and pose for the video camera. The second shot, introduced to the main character, Kevin Arnold, taking a swing with his baseball bat. The storytellers are showing us he's the main character. He's going to be taking the cuts. He'll have some strikes. He'll have some hits. He's pointing to the fences. Then we get the dad, Jack, the patriarch behind the grill, showing off his skills, hamming it up, holding up the meat that he's cooking. Great TV dad that he was. And then the mom, Norma, the matriarch, directing stuff, constantly pointing at the camera, trying to direct the kids, trying to keep everything together. We get the older sister, Karen, whose name I'd forgotten, it played by Olivia Dabo, smacking Wayne on the head at the table, and tells them what you need to know about, tells everybody what you need to know about that relationship. Then we see the asshole brother again, Wayne, beating up the younger brother, Kevin, then hugging him, like goofing around. Then we get Winnie Cooper shows up And just through that one interaction with Kevin handing him the football, immediately they're going to grow up and be interested in each other. And by the way, that first kiss scene on the Rock with Kevin Arnold wearing that iconic New York Jets jacket, and they're playing When a Man Loves a Woman, it's one of the best TV shows scenes of all time for my money. And then we conclude when we see the nerdy friend Milhouse. I mean Paul Pfeiffer. So the
Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson, right? The whole vibe for me was Stand By Me, which is a show I love, very seminal show from my youth. We have character personalities, grainy home video footage, great wardrobes. It was a simpler time. Family, friendships, coming of age. Daniel Stern as a narrator. It was just so captivating. I love it. This is one of the shows that I'll go and I'll YouTube the intro to this show just to go back in time. I know I'm pretty close in age to Fred Savage, so watching him growing up with kind of going through the same stuff almost at the same time. So it's deeply personal in terms of that aspect, but man, what a great show. What a great intro. And it tells a story in 45 seconds with one of the best covers of all time. What do you guys think?
I just want to know why you said vast and cocker in the same sentence. I'm just kidding. This is definitely a great show. Definitely a coming of age show. I want to say this is more of a show for our parents. We sat and we watched it with them, but I think there was just so much nostalgia and Americana from the visuals and the intro. But this is like a show that our parents wanted us to see, so they could see kind of how they grew up. You know what I mean? The intro was very good because of Joe Cocker's, with a little help of from our friends or from my friends, that it made it a great theme song. You hear that song and that version of that Beatles song, and you're like, God damn, you instantly, it's the Wonder Years. I hadn't seen it or thought about it in a long time until you mentioned it as your pick. And I was like, wow, that's one of those great shows that we watched when we were kids with our families. It was a good family show. It was like I said, you mentioned coming of age, and I think that hit the nail on the head perfectly. It's definitely a great coming of age show. The introduction, I like it. It's kind of like home video, right?
Yeah.
Like a shot on an old video camera, video footage. And, it makes you feel like this is your family or things about your family. So it's got a lot of great little touches in it. And I really, really do like it. I think it's one of the better ones, having watched it over and over again. And now being older now with my own wife, with my own kids, I can see the nostalgia, and I can see why my parents probably love that show so much, because it really hits home now that I've gotten a little bit older and with the family of my own. But I think it's a great pick, man. It's a really great pick.
I'm going to be negative. No.
Yes.
No. This is another one of these. And this is what's cool about the three of our picks, whether we, when we agree and we have, I'm sure there's things that we've mentioned or that say that, this and that, like, we cannot deny that these three openings, these three television shows, probably some of the greatest in television history. And these openings will forever be remembered. This show is, I remember it. The opening is really awesome. I love the imagery. To me, and I'm not trying to knock this in any way, because I do love this song. And I think we talked about, I don't know if we talked about this on the show, but I know, yeah, I know did we mention it at least that Randy, I think that was you were going to pick it.
Yeah, that was Randy's choice.
Yeah, it was my second choice. It was my second choice. Yeah, second choice.
It was your second choice.
Yeah.
And I think I had made a comment then or something saying that, to be honest with you, this song I think this song is way better than the Beatles version, and that's saying something, because
exactly.
We love the Beatles, but this song and this cover of that song is awesome. To me, the imagery more stands out on this show. It's perfect for what the show is going to be about, like how Bob mentioned, that it takes place between 68 and 73, I believe I read.
Yes.
Or so let's just say late 60s, early 70s. Great time of music. As we all know, we've talked about that as extensive. I think that as much as I love this song, you could have maybe used a different song and it would still be good, because to me, what makes this stand out is the visual. That really cool, grainy film recording of family cookout, like you mentioned, getting together for a picture, kids playing around, a mom and dad filming their kids playing, sports horsing around, the one friend who just waves at the camera like a geek and runs away. Hey, to me, it's this opening is more the visual. The song helps. I just think I do think there's other songs that you could use. I think you can replace this song, but they go kind of hand in hand. So, and I think it's maybe more that I love the song so much. Like, I believe this is such a great song. What's his name? Who sings it?
Joe Cocker.
Joe Cocker. Just wanted to hear one of y'all say that.
Coach,
you heard both of us.
His voice is so awesome. It's the way he sings the song is powerful. I look more and I more love the visual more than anything, because I believe it's like you mentioned, it sets the tone perfectly for what the show is going to be about. We know the concept of the show, the narration kind of, we've seen it in How I Met Your Mother, except this one is narrated by Marv from Home Alone. So, but it's perfect. I think I like the opening, the visuals, like I said, more than the song, but it works. It's good. I think you can replace the song, and that's my only. If you want to call it a negative,
I could agree with that. I think I could agree with that, man. I think the visual is everything for the opening.
If you could replace this with a song of that era, and I could think of one. What would you guys replace it with, or what would be some of your nominations?
I don't know. I'd have to. I can't. I probably couldn't give you one on the spot.
Painted Black.
To me, what was yours? I mean, what did you have? If you can think of it to mind.
That Turn song by the Birds too.
Oh yeah. See, that's another one.
That could work.
Yeah.
Or Bye Bye Miss American Pie.
And it's nothing against against the opening itself or the song that was chosen or how it was shot. It's wonderfully shot. I think it's just under a minute or a minute, and it's perfect for the tone of the show. I just think, like I said, I'm more into the visuals is what's locking me into this story of family growing up in the 60s and 70s. But you're right. That's a great song that you just mentioned. I probably anything from the Forrest Gump soundtrack.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think they use that song on the first scene, because I think when Daniel Stern is giving the opening narration, he's talking about Vietnam, and I think they're playing that song. But it would also work as an opener too. I think
if you like opening themes with just straight up visuals, you have to see Baywatch. I'm just saying. Throw that out there.
The run. You know what was a great one I forgot to mention? A very short-lived CBS show called Crime Story with Dennis Farina. You guys know Dennis Farina, great actor. Mm-hmm. We lost him a few years back.
Crime Story.
Yeah, they use The Wanderer. It's a great, check it out. The show was good, but it got canceled very quickly. But Crime Story was a good one.
I would recommend scene of the crime.
Yeah.
By any chance, have you watched the reboot
to
the Wonder Years? Did they have the same opening?
I have not. I have not watched the reboot yet.
I'm curious if they have the same opening.
But what channel is it? Because it's a streaming.
It's on ABC.
Oh, it's on ABC.
Yeah,
oh
ABC.
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if it has the same opening. Because I know, I think in the commercials, in the previews leading up to it, I believe this Magic Moment was featured. I don't know if maybe they used that song. I know they used it. I'm pretty sure they used it a lot in the build up to the show. And I know that, and they've used the Joe Cocker version too a few times in some quick little 5-second The Wonder Years premiering June 25th, or some shit like that. But I'm not sure specifically what their opening looks like or who sings this song.
Be something to check out.
So guys, we're entering a second sort of renaissance of the title sequence of television. You've seen a lot of cool cutaways, a lot of cool music. I mean, we referenced something, Stranger Things. A True Detective was another one we didn't mention.
Oh yeah, man, I love that one.
They got great intros. But these are nods to more serious shows. Flashy fun intros, are they a thing of the past, or do we give a shit anymore? Are we just skipping? What are we looking for? What's going to come ahead to title sequences? Do they have to pop out more? Because it seems like, I
think they have no choice. They have to be really catchy. They have to pop out more, because now we have that skip intro button, and and everybody's really impatient now, and they want to get down to it, so they skip the intro all the time with that little button that they give you on Netflix or Hulu or whatever streaming service you're using at the time. So it has to be good. If you want the audience to stick around and listen to it, it has to be really good. It has to be extremely catchy.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend. I want to say that I enjoy them. I do. I think they set up a show. I think it's if they're really good, and we get to, you know, hopefully they'll get back to that, because like I said, I enjoy them. I enjoy that we're talking about this today. A lot of the shows, I mean, are now, like we've talked about, they're coming out. There's the TV shows that come out on network, and like I mentioned earlier, a lot of them really don't have intros. The stuff that we see on the streaming networks, I think they do. You know, they do have some intro stuff. There was a show called, and I only know this because I was a fan of the song, and then I heard it got used. There's a show called Vikings. I think it was on History Channel.
Oh yeah.
Their intro is they used a song by it's called "If I Had a Heart" by, I can't remember the name of the, Fever Ray. So when I heard that,
is that Sugar Ray's cousin?
When I heard that this song was used for this opening, and the subject matter of the show is like Vikings, kind of like a Viking, I guess, but for TV, Game of Thrones. I watched the opening and I was like, oh, that was pretty fucking cool. It's like some epic, you know, Viking type fighting shit. So I mean, it's going to depend on the show, but I think we're getting away from it. Like I said, if I think about all the shows that I currently watch on TV, a lot of them maybe have like a 10-second intro, and that's it at most. Even one of the biggest shows, I know Bob's going to say, because he doesn't like the show, but I mean, if you read the list of shows that were huge, I mean, The Big Bang Theory was a huge show.
Oh, it's not that I don't like it. I just never got into it.
Okay, but its opening was like what? It's like a 15-second, like quick. Yeah,
and Bare Naked Ladies, yeah.
You know, so.
Oh no, and they used the Bare Naked Ladies for that show to make it any worse.
Yeah, and so, and that was one of the biggest sitcoms. I mean, it's over now, and it's one of the hugest sitcoms of all time, and it made a lot of money. But even then, it was just a quick intro. So, I think we're going away from it. To be honest with you, we're not going to be able to talk about stuff like
intros,
this.
Yeah,
people won't be able to talk about stuff like this.
I think the 80s and the 90s, like the 70s through 90s, were like the last. I mean, there are a few decades were just great, where it was important. And I think nowadays everybody's like, let's just get on with the fucking show.
Well, you see it a lot on TV shows now. They'll have a whole first, and movies do this as well. Movies will run like 10 minutes of a movie and then go into the opening credits. And I think TV shows are doing that now. They want to hook you with a cold opening, and then like 5 minutes later, it'll be like, you know, this show starring so-and-so. And so the intros aren't really in the intro anymore. They're part of the show, and they don't want you to skip over it. They want you to, you know, get hooked and then read the titles.
Isn't that what, who did that? Who did that for their whole series? The guy, he takes off his sunglasses, like, well,
CSI?
CSI?
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
CSI?
Yeah.
That whole fucking thing was look who's dead. And I mean, there's so many, like, remember we hear about it all through.
The Who?
Wait, didn't Queen do the song for Highlander? I've never watched Highlander. I think they use a song by Queen.
I don't know, but there can only be one.
There can only be. I know there can only be one.
Where did I see that? Where did I hear that? I heard that on a TV show or something, a movie. Like there was a scene where somebody. No. It was an actual show where. Fuck! I saw it recently. It was like some guy showed up and he's like, "Who's?" And so I think it was some kids or some.
He looks like the Highlander.
They're like, he looks like the Highlander, or he looks like a Highlander. And he goes, "You mean the Highlander? There can only be one."
What show? I saw that too.
I saw it. I don't know where I saw it. Where did I see it? Fuck! It's gonna piss me off.
If you're a fan of our show and you know this when you listen to this,
please
post
tell
it on
us.
Instagram.
Yes, it was like a funny, subtle joke like that they threw in. Like, you mean the Highlander? There can only be one. It was fucking. I was like, it made me laugh.
If anybody can remember, send us an email. Speaking of which, that's our show, everyone. Listeners, we'd like to hear from you, especially if you have that Highlander answer. Hit us up and let us know which was your favorite opening TV show theme. Most importantly, let us know what you think about the show. You may reach us at formidableopponents@gmail.com and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook by searching for Formidable Opponents. Once again, we want to thank Creative Little Pill for her amazing artwork as usual. And join us next episode as we debate best 60s rock songs. Speaking of the Wonder Years, speaking of the 60s. Follow us on social media for all those updates. Please rate us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Hit us up on our email, socials for collaborations or topics, guest spots, etc. And we will see you all next week.
I want to be where everybody knows my name, bro. I really do. I'm sorry.
Go home, Joseph. Go home.